Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Curious XX, a podcast where we celebrate brilliant and inspiring women who are carving remarkable paths in STEM and beyond. I'm Adya,
And I'm Dia.
and today we are absolutely delighted to have an extraordinary guest with us, Shanthameena Chandrasekaran. Miss Meena is an intellectual property attorney expert at SAP, where she plays an important role in shaping the future of innovation by helping inventors protect their ideas through patents. Her journey into intellectual property is fascinating. Starting her career as a software engineer, Meena Auntie combined her technical foundation with legal expertise, completing her law degree at Karnataka State Law University after her master's in software system at BITS Pilani.
Today, she manages patent portfolios, drives patent related initiatives, and conducts training and workshops. She is a member contributor at national forums like the National Association of Software, service companies like NASCOM, and the Confederation of India Industries. What truly inspires us about Meena's story is the way she really serves as a bridge between industrial teams and the legal world to make an impact. Her career is proof that you don't have to stay within one box and that following your curiosity can open doors to entirely new fields.
We can't wait to dive into her journey, hearing about the exciting challenges of working in intellectual property and learning about how women can find their place at the intersection of law, technology, and innovation.
Thank you so much, Adya and Dia, for having me here. So it's wonderful that you're doing this podcast, a much needed topic that needs to be addressed, and I'm so happy for both of you.
We're really excited to talk to you today. So, just to start, we were wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your background, your family, where you grew up, and what really introduced you to this field.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I grew up in a traditional family in the southern part of India, where education was highly valued in every household, I must say. And my family is full of professors with PhDs. So naturally, academics were a big part of my upbringing. So if I may quote, late 90s, engineering was a popular career choice in India. And at that point, the source of information for us would be newspapers, magazines, and in fact, uh, some alumni who would visit us for guest talks. Then they would share their journey and experience at how their universities went and how's their work going on. Since internet access was so limited, right? We did not have access to the content that's available today. uh, the only source of information were these channels, and the guest talks or sessions, I would say, gave us a glimpse of the outside world. So that being said, this was also the time when IT industry was gaining momentum. Yet the idea of girls pursuing engineering or building careers definitely remained a distant dream in early 2000s. So it was my personal interest in science that led me to into engineering. I'd say that I didn't plan it exactly, but one thing led to the other, and I did explore the patent field, liked it, gave it my 200%, and here I am.
So, you mentioned that you first started with engineering and then moved into the field of law. So, what led you to choose law as a passion? Was there a specific moment that made you realize that this was the right path, even though you were training as an engineer?
Yes. So let me walk you through my journey. So at high school, I chose computer science as my elective. It was a fascinating and emerging field, and there was a lot of buzz around it. We used to have these academic counselors, and they often spoke about the growing job opportunities in this domain. And in fact, in the year 2000, a new course called Information Technology, IT, was introduced at the university, which was a combination of subjects of computer science and electronics and communication. So when I was contemplating, okay, what engineering discipline should I pick up, I found this to be a safe choice because it was giving me the flexibility to pursue like computer science, which is new and emerging, which we don't know how the future would be, and as well, there's a fallback option of going back to the mainstream electronics and communication as well. So that's the reason I chose the IT program, and I did well all 4 years and topped the department as well. So despite the recession during that time frame, I received a campus placement offer as a developer at a multinational. Interestingly, in the entire campus, only 4 offers were made that year, and I was one of them. That's how I started my career in software development. I definitely did not plan that this is how my career should be. But then once I picked up the job, I quickly realized that it wasn't something I'm truly enjoying it, because I was always passionate about education and looking for a job where I could, perennially be learning new things. Writing software code did not excite me as much. So then I figured out about this field patents. And because that could be an area where, you always get to hear about new innovations, and then also you could stay updated with the technology developments as well. So to me it felt like a right fit for my background and interest, so I decided to make the switch. And over a period of time, I built a strong foundation in this field. So today, as a patent attorney, I get to work at the intersection of innovation and intellectual property.
That's great. What a journey you've gone through. So, you spoke about how there were these ideas in society about following a field like engineering. But growing up, did you ever imagine that one day you could work as a patent lawyer? And were you actually exposed to these careers in law at a young age?
No, I never imagined myself entering the legal profession. I had absolutely no background in law, neither anybody in the family was into law back then. So while working as a developer, I realized, as I mentioned, that I didn't quite enjoy writing code, and I wasn't excited about going to work. That made me reflect on my career path, and I actually started doing research on what other alternate career options are available. So I explored a few possibilities. I did consider technical writing, and a few friends in the organization recommended that I should consider being a data scientist. And then also, I came across this field, patent law. So I narrowed down to these three, fields, and then I was like trying to figure out, okay, what would be the best fit for me? So actually, I will narrate an interesting story of how I landed up in the patent job as well. So when I was exploring these opportunities one by one, uh, though I had very limited knowledge about patents while being in a development job, I was curious and I decided to apply to a law firm. And I actually did apply. And then I received an email saying, okay, there are no vacancies, sorry. uh, but then I did not decide to stop there. I wrote back an email to the founder of the firm saying, if you could just spend some time, meet me for a quick chat. And he agreed. So during the meeting, after a few minutes of the conversation, because I really liked what was explained to me, I was curious. I asked a lot of questions about this field and how does it work. I was intrigued, and then I just asked, can you give me an opportunity to work here? I don't need a salary, maybe just as an intern. I really wanted to learn about patents and see if that's the right path for me. So back then, it was quite rare for someone to ask for a job without pay while being in a full-time development role. So I was ready to let go of my current job to, get into this field and try my hands on. I was pleasantly surprised. So after the discussion, I like a day or two later, I received an email with an offer letter with a salary, not just an internship. And that opportunity changed everything. And it marked the beginning of my journey in the patent field. So, you know what is the learning that I had, that it's okay to take a calculated risk in life. And you truly won't understand what this field is about until you roll up your sleeves and try it yourself. Like they say, right? You can't learn to swim by reading about it. So, the patents is exactly like that.
I think your journey really shows how curiosity can be so important in actually taking a leap and actually trying something new that you're genuinely interested in. So, for some younger viewers who might not really understand a lot about patents and what exactly a patent lawyer might do, could you please explain how a patent lawyer is different from a regular lawyer and what we see on television shows, and how is the real job different?
Yeah. I know these courtroom dramas are quite fascinating, but a patent lawyer job is very different from what you see on these, shows. Because instead of what they typically you end up watching in such shows, but they'd be dealing with some criminal or civil cases. But here it's more technical. So we work with inventions, right? Often it could be in the fields like computer science, electronics, mechanical engineering, and so forth. So to do this really well, before I get into explaining what the actual job is about, to do this really well, there are three main qualities that a patent lawyer needs, in my perspective. One, a strong technical background. So you need to understand complex inventions, often at the same level as the engineer who creates them, right? That's number one. And number two, a thorough knowledge in patent law. So, knowing how the law protects the invention is essential because every country has its own patent law. And the third aspect is excellent analytical skills. So, you must be able to connect the technical details with the legal arguments. So, having said this, a career in patent usually begins with patent drafting. So, writing a patent application is called patent drafting. For example, when an inventor comes in with a new innovation, it could be anything, right? So the patent lawyer job is to interview them and understand how the invention works at a technical depth. You understand every single nuances of it. And then we do something called a patent eligibility determination. So to check if it meets XYZ criteria of the patent law. And then patent application is drafted or written and then filed in the patent office. So later, this particular patent application is examined by the patent office. These patent offices are government bodies, and they will communicate their opinion to the patent lawyer saying, okay, you have a good case, or these are certain rejections that we have, and so forth. So this phase is called the prosecution. So the patent lawyer responds to the communication, and this iteration, between the patent office and the patent lawyer goes on for a while. And if we are successful at the end of the prosecution, we get a patent grant from the patent office. So it typically takes a few years to see the result of our work, right? So, of course, this is the base premise, and there are multiple verticals of practice within the patent law. Like I said, drafting and prosecution. So, there's also litigation. So, some matters move to the court and could be litigated. So, litigation is another vertical. And then there's something called a patent portfolio management, which I do as well. So, for the entire technology vertical, all the patent assets within an organization I manage at a high level. So that's called the patent portfolio management, and so forth. So there's like multiple variety of work that we get to do in this job. And a patent lawyer typically specializes in more than one verticals, to be very successful. So in a nutshell, that's the job.
Thank you for that very thorough explanation of the job. I think that's really helpful in understanding how the patent field actually works. So, to understand how your background sort of has influenced the way you interact in this field, how has your engineering background shaped the way you interpret patent cases?
That's a very interesting question. So, fundamentally, our ability to understand the technical content is directly proportional to the quality of patent applications that we draft. Say, for example, the subjects we study in engineering, it lays a foundation for a successful patent career. Though people, complete their engineering in one stream and then they kind of work across different technical areas, that's definitely there. But in my case, my specialization was in computer science, engineering, IT, and I work on software patents exclusively. So it kind of aligns well with my work. So when I speak to an architect or a data scientist to understand their work product, the ability to grasp the topics and invention is much, much better. And when you understand the nuances or the depth of technical implementation, your ability to write a substantially good technical argument for prosecution or the patent application itself is unparalleled. So I would say the engineering course is designed in such a manner that puts you through the rigorous coursework, and that actually enables us to build that problem solving ability and the critical thinking ability. And these two qualities are super helpful as a patent attorney. So today it could be one technology domain, tomorrow it could be something else, but then you mentally train yourself to work across technologies. That base engineering gives you.
Wow, that's really impressive. The way that your engineering background has actually given you not only all of that technical knowledge, but also those transferable skills of analysis and critical thinking that you're really applying in your day-to-day job. That's really impressive. So we wanted to ask that you've you had to have a sort of transition from engineering, which is focusing on building things, to law, which focuses on protecting them. So was there any challenges that you had to go through to adjust your mindset for this transition?
Um, well, yes. So you begin to think less about how something works and more about why it should work that way and who it affects. So engineering or engineers rely on data and logic, whereas lawyers rely on arguments and precedents. So when you say adjusting, it means learning to value that ambiguity and the nuance, and to build a compelling narrative around the facts rather than just presenting them. This is especially very, very helpful when we do prosecution. And, the transition, right? So, a couple of reasons why I was able to appreciate this field real quick was uh, two reasons for that. One, if you look at the invention life cycle of an invention, right, from an idea that comes out of a human mind, an idea, and then it ends up as a tangible patent that is granted. So it's far more challenging and exciting because you get to work on different technologies every day. The work is never monotonous, trust me. So the pace at which the technology evolves you will end up keeping up with that pace because you're forced to, equip yourself, upskill yourself all the time. So the work is never monotonous and it'll keep you on your toes. And the second reason why I found it a field that's made for me is due to the academic interest. So I like this concept of reading up materials. So what happens in a prosecution, right? It's so beautiful because your patent application is there on one end, and then, for example, okay, the patent office says, okay, look, I found 4 different documents. There are bits and pieces of your invention lying out there. Why should I grant a patent for you? I'm going to reject it. I'm kind of oversimplifying it. Uh, but then the excitement comes in when you read the application, patent application, you read all those papers and articles that the patent office has found, and then you start mapping and find subtle technical differences. And then you go back to the office and say, hey, what you found works in an XYZ manner, whereas my patent application works in an ABC manner. So to bring in that kind of an argument and frame that argument is far more fun, exciting, and challenging, and better than development for me on a personal note. So this shift, I believe for me, it was like seamless.
That sounds so great that this field, really excites you. And the way you talk about it, you can tell how passionate you are about your job. So, moving on to the next part, we want to ask you if there's any accomplishments that you've had throughout your career that you've worked on that you're really proud of and that you would like to share with the audience.
Absolutely, Adya. So this is something I often share during the employee onboarding and the speed mentoring sessions which I conduct in office, because I think my journey can help others as well. So when I took up the first job in law firm, right, the patent engineer job, um, I didn't stop at just doing the job. I started building my academic profile. Okay. So I envisioned how my profile should look on LinkedIn or any social media in the next 5 to 10 years. And then I chalked out a vision board and started working on it. True story. Okay. It'll seem not that way, but true story. Over the next decade, I pursued a combination of technical degrees and legal certifications, to transform my vision board into reality. So the way I went ahead was I spent about 7 months preparing for the India Patent Bar exam. Right, this was just 2 months after starting my work at a law firm, uh, done and dusted, and then I became a registered patent agent in India. First milestone done. So that gives the confidence for the next one. And soon after, I enrolled in a work integrated, a master's program in engineering, because I always wanted a master's along with my undergrad. And then I took it up 2 years. I kind of, had a rigorous work and a study schedule and completed it because the exams were in person. All the weekends used to be exams and assignments, submissions. So it was a very rigorous course. I completed it. And then once I was done with that, I took up the US patent bar. And that preparation went on for almost a year because it's way tougher than the India patent bar. So I completed that. And after having completed all this, I felt that, there's something else that's missing in my profile, which is the legal qualification as well, which I wanted to add to my academic portfolio. So I completed my law post that. So the entire decade was dedicated to academics, career, while managing the family. And that is what has shaped me into the person I am today. So I'd say that It took years of discipline, resilience, hard work, and perseverance. And I share this story because many people feel unsure about how to shape their careers. And you know what? The truth is, there is no fixed timeline unless you set one, and it's never too late. And another interesting aspect is if you're willing to adapt, right, and then step out of the comfort zone. People say sky is the limit, but I would add another sentence to it saying there is no ticking clock to make the choice. So, yeah.
Wow, that's so great. You had such a busy, career starting with first engineering and then managing so many different technical work that you've done after that. Um, I wanted to ask, how did you manage all of your career stuff along with family and other commitments that you might have had at the time?
Yes, I am a to-do list person, Adya. So you have a fixed timetable, a disciplined schedule, and that's what takes people places. Because today, when you look at something, it look like, oh my God, it's such a huge task. It's a big goal. It appears closer to impossible. But then when you break it down, right, and then you make weekly goals, daily goals, or monthly goals, it'll turn out to be smaller tasks which can be accomplished. I think it's just the mindset. Once you set your mind to do something, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just beyond impressive what you've been able to achieve with all your focus throughout your career. And we're very, very excited to see where you go from here. So now we're just going to shift the focus and the discussion to women in STEM. We wanted to know your perspective as to, according to you, what are the primary reasons why you think that girls are discouraged from pursuing careers in engineering or even in law? And do you think that this is changing over time?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Hmm. So, a few months ago, I did look up some stats. This was for a different project at work. And then while reading some articles, I came across a couple of stats which were very interesting. So, according to the UNESCO science report, right, 28% of the engineering graduates globally are women. And the other one was from World Economic Forum, which was reported last year that 28% of the global STEM workforce is made up of women. These numbers are really low. So, I will factor in uh, two reasons. So, one, I would say that uh, because I'm just associating with my childhood and my friends who studied with me at that point. Not everybody is into STEM. Barely 5% of the class chose STEM. So girls often lose interest in STEM because it could seem like an uninspiring curriculum, or it could be a peer pressure, or it could be even a misconception about what STEM career entails, right? And the other aspect which I've also observed is that, you know, people around them also discourage, saying, various reasons are quoted, saying it could be, you should look at a course where you can manage your career and family in the long run. Sometimes, the STEM fields, and let's say somebody picks up a scientist kind of a role, it's going to be way more demanding to manage your life later. So young girls are made to make an informed choice at a very younger age, in anticipation of an uncertain future. So, and then, young girls also often lack visible female role models in STEM and law in the immediate family circle. There's always a lot of difference between watching a career oriented woman in a social media versus watching someone very close in your life. So, this absence always contributes to a perception that these fields are not welcoming or achievable for women. And of course, this is changing over a period of time, but it's at a much slower pace and only in certain pockets of the society, I would say. Yeah, that's my view.
Yeah, I think it's really sad that, there are so few girls who are actually pursuing STEM careers, and that the reason is because of anticipation of their future lives that they're uncertain of for now. Um, so you mentioned that having role models is really important. So did you have any female mentors in either STEM or in law who helped you navigate your career? Or if you didn't have any female role models, how did you find that kind of support and environment to grow in?
Yeah, actually, I didn't have any female mentors, and be it STEM or law, when I started out. Because the startup which I mentioned and the initial law firm job as well. So it was mostly a male dominated space. So I really had to, figure out things on my own. But then I found some support through various ways, like, colleagues who are encouraging. And then there used to be a lot of active communities, tech communities, where people would offer help by learning from other people's stories and experiences, how they navigated their career track. So that was helpful. And I also believe a lot on self learning, right? I'm a self motivated person, though that comes in naturally to me, and that has actually helped, I would say. So, and also stay curious. So once I took up the job at the corporate, that opened up a lot of avenues, right? I had this options, if I may quote a few, something called coaching, where they assign an exclusive coach to work with you, to help understand your strength, and then how you can, uh, they'll kind of polish and help you navigate the career ladder at the corporate sector. And then something called shadowing, where you could actually shadow some senior colleague and learn from them. And then the mentoring, of course. And then there's something called an employee exchange program, where you get an opportunity to go and work or contribute in a different team. It could be even across the globe. So those programs and a lot of leadership training programs, it really helped me to move up the ladder. So over a period of time, I built a good network for myself, and now I try to be that support for others who are just starting out.
That's great that there are already these systems that are existing which can really help you define guidance. But of course, as you said, it's very important to be self-directed and to take your own initiative in order to move up. So, in your professional setting, how did it feel to be in a male-dominated environment? And did you ever feel like you had to change your own communication style to adapt to this sort of environment?
Yes, of course. I really had to adjust my communication style. It was learning and unlearning at times, to be taken seriously. So in the beginning, I noticed that being too soft spoken or overly polite, sometimes led to my ideas being overlooked. So I learned to be more assertive, clear, and confident while staying true to myself. So I'd say it wasn't about changing who I am, but it was about making sure my voice was heard. And over time, I found a balance that worked for me. So it didn't happen overnight. It was a conscious practice over a period of time. And yes, definitely, I did change my communication style.
Yeah, so just working on making your thoughts and your opinions, which you already had, a bit more clear and being more assertive about that. That's great. So, do you think that as a woman in your field, does that give you any sort of different perspective or any sort of nuance in the way that you understand things that others might not have?
I think there are certain inherent qualities in a woman, right, which is super helpful in certain professions. So, not just the fact that, being a woman in tech and law has given me a unique lens, through which I approach the problems and solve them, but then the innate ability that we all have, right, to multitask and to manage each task closer to perfection. It comes in so naturally to women, right? All the women inventors that I worked with over 2 decades, that's one fine quality that I've observed, that women are excellent in multitasking. And then the second aspect, right, that naturally comes to a lot of us is attention to details. It's yet another underrated quality, but then you know this works wonderfully well in the legal field. So all that is required is, along with the analytical skills that I mentioned, attention to detail really helps. So, the ability to read between the lines and often uncover angles that, others might miss, that has always helped, giving me that unique perspective and bringing in arguments that are like super helpful at work.
That's great. I think that, it's amazing that actually having those attention to detail qualities generally help you with your career. So you mentioned that no matter if it was in engineering or law, you kind of had women who are more detail oriented and multitasking. In your experience, did the transition from engineering to law change your experience as a woman in the field, or did you have sort of the similar kind of challenges?
I'd say, be it tech or law, challenges are similar in the corporate world. Okay, so the transition from engineering to law, of course, it definitely shifted the nature of my experience as a woman, but the challenges are, it remained familiar, right? So in engineering, it's often you have to assert your voice in a highly technical environment where women are underrepresented. Like the first job that I took up, I was the only woman there. So that taught me to be precise, confident, and resilient. But then moving to law, I found that while the gender dynamics were slightly different, the need to prove your credibility and you navigate the biases persisted actually. So uh, the way I appreciate what law gave me, the new tools that gave me, like, the ability to advocate, the ability to strategically think, uh, actually helped me, challenge those biases in a more direct manner. And what changed most was the way I could use my voice. So in engineering, it was always about solving problems, but in law, it turned out to be more about shaping your arguments, and you get to influence the outcome. So both these fields, required me to be more adaptable, persistent, but law gave me that edge, that edge to advocate for technical solutions. So yeah, I'd say very similar challenges, but very different flavors, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's understandable that you've had the same set of problems across different fields, and I think women all around the world face similar kinds of challenges. So, in order to redefine your tech and legal environment, what's your vision of what a truly inclusive environment would look like? And What do you think are the steps that we need to take to get to that stage?
Okay. Not just the legal environment. I see it in every place that I go. I think it's applicable equally in every environment, be it a school or a college or any workplace. So a truly inclusive environment, right, where diversity isn't just acknowledged. It should be actively valued and embedded into the culture. So there's like a lot of buzz around this topic, right? The DNI, it's everywhere. But then that inclusion should go beyond just the representation. So it's not a namesake thing. It should be about creating a space where people of all background, feel safe, comfortable, be heard, be empowered to lead. So the real inclusion starts with awareness and empathy. So once you empathize, you overcome the implicit bias and it's a conscious effort to recognize and work on that. So when people feel they belong, they contribute more authentically and innovatively. And that's the kind of environment I believe would be a fruitful environment where everybody help each other, and to be a very successful environment, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's very important to create those sorts of environment. And I think what you said about DEI, a lot of universities nowadays are trying to incorporate that. Like you have to take a few DEI courses in order to get your degree. Um, but I think that that's just for, namesake that they're doing it because they have to. And I think it's really important to actually have women embedded into an organization instead of just, having that sort of superficial understanding. But moving on, what advice would you give to younger students, specifically girls who are curious about either engineering or law, but they're kind of intimidated into stepping into these fields?
Sure. So to any girl or a student, right, who's curious about the patent law, but you feel unsure, right? I'd say that your curiosity is a strength. So, patent law is all about innovation, and your unique perspective is needed. So, if you look at it, right, it sits at the crossroad of science, technology, and legal thinking. So, yeah, I definitely agree that it seems intimidating at first, but it is also an incredibly rewarding field. So, you don't have to have all the answers right away. What matters most is your willingness to learn, ask questions, and believe that your voice belongs in the room. So this is helpful not just for this field, but for any field that a young aspiring student wants to be in. And most important, I'm just reiterating critical thinking and clear communication, understanding how ideas turn into inventions. All these skills, can be acquired over time as long as you get the fundamentals right? Being curious and willing to learn. So if you're curious, explore it, and you might find your calling.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's such great advice for young girls who are looking to get into these careers in STEM as women in STEM. I think that you've answered all our questions wonderfully. So I'll just give a quick recap about what we learned from our conversation today. So when you began, you spoke about the importance of academics, in Indian culture and in family. And I think that has been so critical for so many women who are trying to shape their own careers. You spoke about how you reflected on your own career path, and then you had that acknowledgement and that honesty with yourself that this is not something that I'm enjoying anymore. And this reflection actually allowed you to um, do some research, take the initiative, and then change your own career path. So now today you're doing something that you really, really enjoy. And I think that is very important for everyone to have those moments of self-reflection where they can change their own career path. Um, what really stood out was your persistence in your research. You talked about how it was very important for you to roll up your sleeves and get that experience and take the leap so you could shape your own journey. And it was very surprising for me personally that as a patent lawyer, you had to have enough technical expertise as the creator of the product itself. And that is so impressive that you need to have technical expertise not only in engineering but also in law, and then combine all of that together to do your job. You spoke about how it's directly proportional, the knowledge you have and the quality of your patent work. I found it very interesting how your perspective about these inventions changed, and now your job is to not only understand the invention but to create a compelling narrative around the facts, as you said. And in science, that is so important because it's not just enough to know all the nerdy things, right? It's important to get that out to people to have a real impact. Finally, what you said about your vision board and then how you really made your own plan, you had a clear path, and you took the steps in the action to make it tangible and to get where you are today. I think that is incredibly inspiring for everyone, no matter what career they're in, and for all the women out there. We're so grateful that we could talk to you today, and your focus and your persistence has really come out. And we're very thankful for all your inputs today.
Thank you so
Yes.
much for joining us on the podcast today. We really, really appreciate all the insights that you shared.
Thank you so much, Adya and Dia. It was a pleasure.